Ana de Armas had not smiled once since the morning. It's not even a small one, and everyone on set noticed. The lights were on. Cameras were rolling. Director shouted. Cues and background chatter filled the air. But Ana sat quietly in her chair, her eyes fixed on the script she'd already memorized. Her fingers trembled slightly as she gripped the paper. No makeup artist could hide what her eyes were holding back. Keanu Reeves stood a few feet away, watching the scene with quiet attention. He was always calm, always gentle. But today, something had shifted in the air. He could feel it like a silent storm pressing against the windows. Ana hadn't said anything. No complaints. No tears, no anger. Just silence. And for Keanu, that silence said more than any words ever could. The day had started early, as always. It was a high-pressure shoot for a major scene in their upcoming film. The whole crew had flown to a mountain resort to shoot the last emotional chapter. Producers were watching remotely. Everyone expected perfection. And Ana, the star of the scene, was supposed to carry it with grace and strength. But that morning, when she walked into makeup, she didn't greet anyone. She avoided eye contact. She nodded quietly and sat down. Her phone stayed off. Even when the stylist joked with her like usual, she forced a polite smile that faded instantly. Keanu saw it happen. He didn't say anything right away. He didn't. Want to push? He knew how sensitive a single moment could be. Actors carry invisible weights. In some mornings, those weights feel heavier than ever. But when the cameras started rolling, he knew this wasn't just a bad day. Ana was performing. She was saying her lines, hitting her marks, doing everything right. But her eyes weren't there. Her energy was gone. And in a scene where she was supposed to finally express freedom and peace, the director yelled, "Cut," for the fourth time. Ana, we need just a little more warmth. It's the end of her journey. She's happy now, right? Can you show that? Ana nodded. Yes. Sorry, they tried again. Same thing. Her lines were clear, but her face was still clouded. After the fifth take, the director rubbed his forehead. We'll break for 5 minutes. Everyone take 5. Ana quietly walked off the scene and sat near the equipment crates. She leaned forward, elbows on knees, staring at the ground. Keanu followed her with his eyes. Something inside him stirred. Not worry. Something deeper. Like an ache. A small part of him knew what this was. And then it happened. The director called. Everyone back. Lights ready. Camera steady. Keanu stood beside Ana in the scene, prepared to deliver the closing lines. But just before the take began, Ana turned slightly away from the camera. Not part of the script, Ana. We're rolling, the assistant whispered. Ana didn't respond. Keanu looked at her and saw it. Her bottom lip was trembling. She wasn't blinking. She was trying not to cry. The director said, "Cut." Keanu had already turned away, not from Ana, from the scene. He walked off set, quietly, without saying a word. Everyone froze. Someone dropped a clipboard. A few crew members exchanged looks. The director shouted, "Keanu, where are you going?" But Keanu didn't stop. He walked past the monitors, past the makeup stations, out the studio door and into the cold mountain air. For a moment, no one knew what to do. Ana sat still, blinking fast, lips parted and silent. Shocked. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. The assistant director said, "Should we call someone?" But before anyone could decide, Keanu came back in, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee and a small folded blanket. He walked straight over to Ana and sat beside her on the ground. He handed her the coffee, placed the blanket around her shoulders and said softly, "We can stop today, if you need." Ana looked at him. Her voice was shaky. "Why did you walk out?" Keanu smiled gently, his voice low. "'Cause you didn't smile once, and that means something's wrong." Her eyes filled. But she didn't cry. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you." Keanu didn't ask questions. He didn't press. He just sat beside her, silently sipping his coffee. The entire crew watched from a distance, unsure what to say, but no one interrupted. The director came over quietly. "Keanu, we really need this shot before sunset." Keanu looked up and said one thing, "Then give her what she needs." And somehow, that sentence changed everything. The director didn't argue. He nodded and backed away. Anna sat in silence a while longer. Then slowly she stood up, still wrapped in the blanket. She walked to the center of the scene, her coffee still in hand. And with soft determination in her voice, she said, "I want to try again." And this time, something was different. Her eyes softened, her face relaxed, and at the very end of the scene, the smallest smile appeared. It wasn't big, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. And when the scene ended, the entire crew clapped. Not because the shot was perfect, but because something unspoken had happened. Anna looked over at Keanu, and he nodded just once. She smiled again. Keanu's simple act had turned the day around, not with pressure, not with anger, but with kindness. He had walked off set not in frustration, but in care, because he knew. Sometimes silence is louder than words, and one person noticing your pain can change everything. The next morning, the crew arrived early, expecting tension. Whispers floated through the makeup room. The assistant director was on edge. Few of the crew members avoided looking directly at Anna. Everyone knew what had happened the day before. The walkout, the coffee, the blanket, the broken moment that turned into something honest, but no one knew what would happen. Next, Anna stepped into the trailer at exactly 6:15 a.m. Her hair was tied back, no sunglasses, no smile, but she looked calm. She greeted the makeup team softly. "Good morning," she said, not loud, but clear. Keanu arrived 20 minutes later as usual, hoodie pulled up, hands in his coat pockets. He didn't make a grand entrance. He never did. He nodded to the crew, said thank you to the coffee runner, and made his way toward the set where the mountain wind had started to pick up again. Anna was already there. Standing near the cliff edge where the final scene continued, she looked over her shoulder. There. Eyes met, and for just 1 second it felt like everything was okay again. But the truth was, because something deeper was still going. On inside, Anna and Keanu could sense it. The camera rolled. The director gave new instructions. The lines were shorter today, but they were heavier. Anna's character had just let go of her past in the story. She was free, finally. All she had to do was say one final line, a hopeful line. But her voice cracked halfway through. She tried again. Same thing. The director didn't yell this time. He walked over, concerned. "Anna, is everything all right? You did so well yesterday?" Anna looked down at her shoes, then quietly walked away from the edge. Keanu followed without asking. They found a quiet corner by the trees, away from cameras and ears. Keanu waited. Anna turned her face away, covering her mouth. Her voice was thin. "I didn't sleep." Keanu nodded. "You don't need to tell me everything, but I want to." Keanu stayed silent. Anna took a deep breath. "I got a message from home. My dad. He's in the hospital. He had a fall. He's okay now, but they're running tests." Keanu's jaw tightened, not in anger, in quiet care. "And they didn't want to tell you until yesterday." Anna nodded slowly. "But when I heard it, I couldn't stop thinking." Keanu put a hand gently on her shoulder. "You shouldn't be here, Anna," she said. "But I feel like if I leave, I'll fall apart." He looked at her with steady eyes. Won't Anna wiped her cheek with the back of her hand. "You know what hurts? I've been waiting my whole career for a role like this. Something real, something that matters. And now, right when it's finally happening, I feel like I'm breaking." Keanu took a deep breath. "You're not breaking, you're feeling. And that's what makes you perfect for this role." Anna shook her head. "I'm tired of being..." "Strong, then. Don't be," Keanu said softly. "Be human. Just for a while." Those words sat in the air like soft snowflakes. Anna nodded. Slowly, the director called again. Time was running short. The light was changing. They returned to the set. This time, when the camera rolled, Anna said her final line. But she didn't force it. She didn't act. She spoke it like it was. Hers, and it was. The take was quiet, emotional, raw, and when it ended, even the camera operator lowered the rig with glassy eyes. No one clapped this time, because no one wanted to break the moment. After the scene wrapped, The director approached Anna. That was it. We're done. You nailed it. Anna smiled, finally really smiled. Thank you. And she turned to Keanu. You were right, she said. Keanu chuckled. About what? I didn't need to be strong. Just honest. He smiled back. Sometimes that's enough. They walked off set together. No words. Just a quiet walk down the slope. But as they reached the trailer area, Anna paused. Keanu, she said, you didn't have to do any of it. That yesterday, he looked at her gently. You didn't have to smile today either, but you did, and that means everything. Anna held his gaze. Why do you care so much? Keanu's voice lowered. Because someone once walked off a set for me, and it changed my life. She blinked. What do you mean? But he didn't explain. Not yet. He simply placed a hand on her back and guided her toward the warm lights of the trailers. Later that night, Anna sat alone in her room. Watching the raw take from earlier, she could see it now, the pain, the shift, the healing, and Keanu standing just a little off screen, never blinking. Always present in her heart, she knew. This wasn't just about acting. This was about being seen, really seen, and somehow Keanu had given her that without ever asking for anything back. But she didn't know the full story. Not yet, because what? Keanu said about someone walking off set for him. That was more than just a passing comment, and soon Anna would learn the truth behind it. A truth that would bring everything full circle. 3 days later, filming moved to the final location, a quiet, coastal town with narrow streets, sleepy markets, and gray skies that felt like a memory. It was the last stretch of the shoot. Emotions were high. Everyone was exhausted. But something had shifted between Keanu and Anna. A soft understanding had grown between them. Anna was smiling again. Not always. Not every moment. But it came more often now. It wasn't forced. The crew noticed. The director noticed. Even the fans waiting outside the hotel noticed. But behind that small recovery was still something unfinished. Something unanswered. Anna kept thinking about what Keanu had said. Someone once walked off a set for me, but he hadn't told her more, not even a little, that evening. As the wind rolled over the sea and the crew wrapped for the day, Anna found herself standing near a bench that looked out across the water. The sky was turning orange and gray. Keanu sat there, sipping tea from a paper cup. Anna walked over slowly. Is this seat taken? He smiled. Only if you're bringing trouble. She sat beside him, arms wrapped around herself. Do you always drink tea when the world's quiet? Helps me listen better, Keanu said. Anna looked out at the water. I've been thinking about what you said, about someone walking off. Set for you? Keanu was quiet for a long moment. Then he placed the teacup down beside his foot. I was 23, he began. My first real film. Nervous every day. The director was intense, the crew was loud. I didn't feel like I belonged. I was always second-guessing myself. Anna listened without interrupting. One day, Keanu continued, we were filming this big fight scene. I messed up the take. Twice, then 3 times. The director got angry, yelled at me in front of everyone, told me I was wasting time. He paused, staring at the horizon. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, feeling smaller with each word. And then the lead actress, the star of the movie, walked up to him, looked him in the eye, and said, You talk to him like that again? I walk. Anna blinked. She really said that. Keanu nodded, and she meant it. She walked off. The whole crew froze, and for a while, no one knew what to do. But that night, she came to my room, knocked once, and said something I'll never forget. What? Anna asked gently. Keanu turned to her. She said, You're not here to impress anyone. You're here because you matter. Anna felt her chest tighten. She looked away for a moment, the sound of the waves filling the pause. What happened after that? She whispered. They brought in a new director, Keanu said. The movie finished. It didn't win awards. But I did. Inside, Anna turned to face him. And you never forgot that? How could I? He said softly. One act of kindness saved me. not because it was big, but because it was true. The wind picked up, brushing hair across Anna's face. She didn't move it, just sat there, letting his words sink into her skin. "So when you walked off set for me," she began. "I was just doing what someone once did for me," Keanu said. "Seeing you, really seeing you, and reminding you, you're not here to impress anyone. You're here because you matter." Anna's eyes welled up, not with pain. With warmth? "Thank you," she said quietly. Keanu smiled, not saying anything. They sat like that until the sky turned completely dark. The next morning, Rain arrived on set with a small notebook in her hand. Keanu noticed he waited until there. Scene was done a long take through a cobbled alley with soft dialogue and heavy silences, and then asked her about it. "What's that?" he said, nodding to the notebook. Anna looked shy. "Just something I've been writing in." He raised a brow. "Can I see?" She shook her head. "Not yet." But that night, just after dinner, there was a quiet knock on Keanu's hotel door. He opened it and found the notebook sitting on the floor, with a single sticky note that said, "For you, just one chapter." He picked it up, sat on his bed, and opened it inside, in neat handwriting. It was a story. A true one, about a little girl in Cuba who wanted to act, who was told she wasn't good enough, whose accent was mocked, whose clothes were too simple, who cried after auditions and smiled anyway, who moved to Los Angeles with no money and no connections, and kept going, page after page, until the very last line, and she smiled again because someone saw her when she forgot how. Keanu closed the notebook, sat very still. Then he smiled too, because he knew he hadn't just helped her finish the film, he had helped her find herself again, but what neither of them knew yet was that someone else had been watching, and a storm neither of them expected was waiting just ahead. The last day of filming was supposed to be calm, a final indoor scene, soft dialogue, one hug between characters, one simple smile, and then wrap, but peace never lasts long in stories that matter. The studio had sent 2 executive producers to the set that morning. They weren't expected. They hadn't been announced. They just showed up, suits, sunglasses, cold stares. People said they came to observe, but everyone knew what that meant. Someone from the studio was worried. Maybe about time, maybe about budget, maybe about Anna. The pressure came. They fast the producers pulled the director aside and whispered for 10 minutes. Glances were thrown toward Anna, she noticed. Everyone noticed when the director returned. He looked different, nervous. He cleared his throat. "Okay, everyone, today's schedule has changed slightly. We're starting with the final 2 scenes. First, just to make sure we have what we need, we'll keep things moving." Anna looked at Keanu. He already knew. Something wasn't right. They started with the hug scene. It was quiet, no music. Done. Just 2 characters who had gone through everything. Together, finding peace in each other's presence. Anna's lines were perfect. Keanu's delivery was calm, warm. But when the scene ended, one of the producers walked up to the director and said, "Again." Anna blinked. The director called reset. From the top. They tried again, and again, and again. By the 5th take, Keanu stepped in. "What's going on?" The director hesitated. "They want more emotion. More energy from Anna." Keanu turned to the producers. "This scene isn't about energy. It's about quiet healing." One of the producers replied coldly, "We need something that sells, something that moves fast. This is dragging." Anna stood silently in the background, her hands clenched at her sides. Keanu single quotes his jaw tightened. "This isn't a trailer clip. It's the ending. It's earned." The taller producer narrowed his eyes. "You're not directing this, Keanu. Let's get one more take. This time, maybe Anna could show us something worth the paycheck." That broke the room. The air froze. The crew went silent. Anna stood still, not blinking. Keanu turned slowly, and for the first time since the shoot began, his voice lost its softness. "Apologize," he said. The producer scoffed. "What?" "You don't talk to her like that," Keanu said, stepping closer. "She's the reason this story works. She carried the weight of this entire film while fighting something you don't even understand. Anna tried to speak. Keanu, it's... Okay, he shook his head gently. No, it's not. And he looked at the director. Do you agree with them? The director's eyes dropped. He said nothing. Keanu stepped off the mark. Then I'm done, Anna gasped. What are you doing? Keanu looked at her with kind, steady eyes. I told you! I walk for those who are treated like they don't matter. The crew stood in disbelief as Keanu calmly removed his mic, placed it on the table, and walked off the soundstage. Anna stood frozen in place. The producers looked smug for a moment, until something strange happened. The camera operator moved his headset. Then the lighting tech shut off his rig. Then the sound guy unplugged his boom. Within 60 seconds, the entire crew stopped. No one was filming, no one was working, and all eyes turned toward Anna, but she wasn't crying. She wasn't shaking. She was smiling, a small, quiet smile. She turned toward the producers and said clearly, you came here to make sure the movie ends, and it just did.
Ow.
But not the way you thought. She walked off the stage and followed Keanu out the door. They sat together in silence. On a bench just outside the studio building, birds chirped in the background. The clouds moved slowly across the sky. Anna stared at her hands. I've never seen anyone do that. Keanu looked out at the empty parking lot. I've had a long life to learn when to stay quiet, when to stand up. But the movie will survive, he said gently. Maybe even better now. Anna leaned her head back against the bench. I thought today would break me. Keanu looked at her. You didn't break. You rose. A few minutes passed in silence. Then Anna said something unexpected. I think I want to write a book. Keanu blinked. A book. She nodded. About everything. About acting. About fear. About moments like this. You should, he said. I'll buy the first copy. Anna smiled. I'll sign it for you, she whispered. They sat there a little longer, just breathing, just being what they didn't know, what no one knew. Was that one of the crew members had recorded Keanu's words on his phone? The moment he stood up, the words he said, the crew following him, on his final smile, and that video would soon reach millions. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was real, and in a world full of noise, real moments are louder than anything else. The video went online the next day. At first, only a few hundred people saw it. Fans from the crew, industry, insiders, a handful of actors who followed the lighting assistant who had quietly uploaded it. Then someone shared it on a major acting forum. Then a celebrity reposted it with the caption, Keanu stood up. So did The Truth. Within hours, the clip had millions of views. Keanu Reeves, standing calmly on set, defending Ana de Armas with quiet strength. The producer's insulting comment. The entire crew going still. And Anna, the final shot of her smile as she walked out beside him. It hit the internet like a wave of light. Toss. Tag. Hashtag respect. Anna. Hashtag we walk with Keanu. Hashtag Keanu knows. Hashtag kindness is strength. People didn't see a dramatic actor walking off set. They saw something else. They saw someone who valued kindness over power. They saw a man who didn't let silence cover injustice. And most of all, they saw Anna. Not just the actress. Not just the beauty. They saw a woman who was quietly standing back up. Anna didn't check her phone right away. After walking out of the studio, she had turned it off. She and Keanu had taken a quiet ride out of town. No press, no cameras, just a rented Jeep, mountain roads, and silence. They stayed in a quiet lodge overnight, not speaking much. Not needing to dot, Keanu made tea. Anna stared at the fire, and when morning came, she finally turned her phone on. Hundreds of notifications, dozens of missed calls, messages from producers, some angry, some apologetic texts from friends saying, "You don't know what just happened?" And then the video. Anna played it once. Then again, she watched herself standing frozen. She watched Keanu's words. Apologize. You don't talk to her like that. She saw the moment he placed his mic down, and the moment the crew followed him. She had forgotten what her smile looked like. In that moment, quiet, proud, unbroken, tears ran down her face. But this time, they weren't from sadness. Keanu, she said softly, turning toward him. The whole world saw. He nodded once. I figured I didn't want this. I know, he said. Get. But sometimes the truth chooses us. Not the other way around. She stared at the screen again. I was scared they'd cut me out, she whispered. Replace me. Ruin my name. Keanu leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. But instead they saw you. Really saw you. She wiped her cheek. What happens now? Keanu smiled softly. We finish your story. By the next afternoon, the studio released a statement. Short. Cold. Carefully worded. We regret the misunderstanding on set. We are reviewing the incident internally. But it was too late for corporate apologies. The internet had already chosen. Magazines wrote headlines like, Keanu Reeves defends Ana de Armas, Hollywood listens. Why silence is no longer strength. And Hollywood crew walks off in quiet protest. Sparks global kindness movement, one reporter even called it the most respectful rebellion in film history. But Keanu never spoke about it in interviews. Not once. Ana didn't either. She let the moment live. Because some truths speak loudest when you stay still. A week later, surprise came. The original director called them both and invited them to a private meeting at a quiet rooftop cafe in downtown Los Angeles. Ana was hesitant. What if it's a trap? She asked Keanu. He smiled. Then we sit by the door. When they arrived, the director looked smaller, tired, more human. He stood when they approached, his voice soft. Thank you for coming. Ana didn't speak. Keanu nodded. The director took a deep breath. I let them control the set. Let money speak louder than people. Forgot why I started making films in the first place. And you reminded me, Ana finally spoke. Why now? Because I saw what the world saw, he said, and I realized I nearly let them ruin something beautiful. He reached into his bag and pulled out a simple folder. Here's the final cut. The version you both helped shape. I left your scene exactly the way it was. No studio notes, just truth. Nay took the folder slowly, like it was fragile. The director added, and one more thing. The studio greenlit a press screening. Calling it an awards contender, Keanu tilted his head. Why? 'Cause people don't want fake anymore, the director said. They want real. Man, Ana, you were real. Ana didn't cry this time. She stood up, shook his hand and whispered, thank you for seeing me. When they left, Keanu looked at her and smiled. You ready for the spotlight now? No smiled back. Only if you're standing beside me, always, Keanu said. And for the first time since the journey began, she didn't feel nervous. She felt seen and strong and ready. But what neither of them expected was what would happen when the audience saw the final cut. Because sometimes the end of a film isn't the end of the story. Sometimes it's the beginning of something bigger. The theater was silent, the kind of silence that holds its breath waiting, watching, feeling everything. Ana sat in the third row of the press screening, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Keanu was beside her, calm as always. He'd been through this before. Premieres, pressure, moments heavy with expectation. But this one felt different, because this wasn't just a film. This was her truth. On the screen, the final scene played. Ana's character stood at the edge of a quiet street, sunlight breaking through trees, her voice soft but certain. Then came the long silence, and her smile, not the forced one, but the practiced one, the real one. The screen faded to black, the credits rolled, and for a moment, the audience didn't move. Then, one person clapped, then another, and then all of them, a standing ovation, loud, rising, honest. Ana sat frozen. Keanu leaned toward her. You should stand. I can't move. He smiled gently. Then I'll stand for you. He rose. The crowd saw him. and the applause grew louder. Anna slowly stood. Not to take credit, but to say thank you without words. Afterward, people came to her. Not reporters, not executives, people, young actors, older ones, producers, crew, members, strangers with tears in their eyes. A woman with a soft voice whispered, "My daughter saw your smile. She finally believes she can act." A man in a worn jacket said, "That scene, I saw myself, broken, then brave." Someone else said, "Thank you for being real." Anna took every word in. She didn't rush away. She listened. She held hands. She smiled, the same quiet smile Keanu had once walked off set for. Outside. The theater, the sky was a soft gray. Photographers stood behind ropes. Reporters called her name, but she didn't stop for flashing lights. She stopped for the little girl standing behind the barrier, holding a small notebook that said, "I want to be like you." Anna bent down, took a pen from her purse, and signed it, "Be yourself first. Always, Anna." The girl smiled wide, dash-eyed, and in that moment, Anna knew she had become more than an actress. She had become a mirror, a lighthouse, a soft voice in the dark reminding others, "You matter too." 2 weeks later, Anna was invited to speak on a panel for rising female actors in Los Angeles. She almost said no, but Keanu reminded her, "Someone out there is sitting in the last row, waiting to hear your story." So she went, and when she walked onto that stage, the applause was quiet but warm. They gave her a chair and a microphone, and when they asked her the first question, "What moment changed you, though, most during this film?" she didn't hesitate. "The day I didn't smile?" The audience leaned in. Anna continued, "I was silent. I was hurting. No one knew. But someone noticed, not because of what I said, but because of what I didn't say, because I didn't smile. And instead of asking for more, he gave me space. He gave me a blanket and coffee and silence." Her voice softened, and then he walked off set for me. Not to protest, not to punish, but to protect. And that changed me forever. The room was still. Then someone asked, "Do you still talk to him?" Anna smiled. "He's backstage. He never left." Keanu didn't come on stage. He never liked the spotlight. But when Anna stepped down after the panel, he was there holding her scarf and a warm cup of tea. She took both. "Did I do okay?" "Well," she asked. "You did more than okay," Keanu said. "You told the truth." Anna looked around at the crowd beginning to clear out. Then she said, "Keanu, what if this never happened? If you never walked off?" He shrugged gently. "Then maybe you wouldn't be here." Anna nodded slowly. "I want to do that for someone else. Someday you will," he said. "When you do, you'll know the moment, and you'll know what to say." Anna looked at him. "What? Did she say to you again, the actress who walked off for you?" Keanu paused, then repeated it softly. "You're not here to impress anyone. You're here because you matter." Anna held that sentence in her heart, like a secret, like a promise. Months later, the film released worldwide. It was a quiet success, not the kind with explosions or viral ads, but the kind people remembered, the kind they whispered about after. Watching it won awards, but more importantly, it opened conversations about respect, about silence, about what it means to be seen. And in every interview, Anna never took full credit. She always said the same thing. "Keanu saw me when I forgot how." And the world saw her because he did. Kindness had echoed, and that echo was still ringing on a quiet morning a year later. Anna visited a small acting school where young girls were rehearsing in a circle. They didn't know she was coming. When they saw her, their eyes lit up. One girl whispered, "She's here." Anna smiled, sat in the circle, and just listened. She didn't need to teach. Her presence was enough, and before she left, one of the girls, shy, small voice, trembling hand, stood up and said, "Sometimes I don't smile, but maybe that's okay." Anna leaned down, looked her in the eyes, and said, "That's more than okay. That means you're real. Someone will see you." She stood up, placed a gentle kiss on the girl's forehead, and walked out. The sunlight hit her face just right. And yes, this time, she smiled. Not because she had to, but because she could. And somewhere out there, someone else smiled too, because kindness had walked off set and never left.